we're going to begin the podcast today. Welcome to the first anime reviewing podcast we've got today. Our anime watchers out there listening, and anybody else who wants to learn about anime today. I'm Cody, and I'm in America.
You forgot to say what kind of person you are.
I'm the kind of person who forgets things all the time.
Okay, and I'm Laz, the giant blob of Vaseline that lives in your mother's basement, and I'm in China. And then you're supposed to say...
No, you're supposed to say it.
I think we messed up the order today. It was supposed to be you introducing, and then me saying what I am, and then you saying where and what you are.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
And we're not across the pond, but across
the other pond.
The other pond. And then I'm supposed to say something again, or you're supposed to say something?
I think it's me. Me. Because I'm supposed to start and end. So this is the show where we totally mess up our intro on the 6th time that we've done this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that might be our thing now for the intro. We're just going to going to do it live, and we're going to do it like it's not the fourth wall, but it's more like the 3.5 wall. You know, it's like you get a peek around the corner of the recording set, you know?
I think my favorite thing is that we have infinite redos on this, but you know what? Fuck it.
You know, it doesn't matter.
Like, whatever. Okay. So yeah, we're just gonna dive right in today, I think.
Yeah, so today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite animes of all time. And I've seen this anime at least 3 or 4 times. Kino's Journey. This is like my favorite anime of all time. It's so philosophical. What's the word? I'm looking philosophical, and it just every episode really just can be its own thing, you know?
Yeah, every episode is really good standalone. Like, you could just pick any episode and be like, hey, watch this, and do you think it's good? And then you would like the rest of the show.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I love it so much, man. Like, and first of all, I want to ask you, like, were you watching, you watched the old episodes, of course, like the 2000.
Yep, I watched the version from 2003.
You didn't watch any of the new ones at all?
Any of the new ones.
Yeah, like, I watched some of the new ones the other day. Yesterday, I was very underwhelmed. I did not like them at all. But yeah, can you give like a little bit of I've watched it a lot of times, so I should give the synopsis. So wait, we should say there's spoiler alerts first of all.
Yes, this is definitely probably going to be spoiler heavy. So if you want to watch it,
I didn't even
go
think
watch
about
it.
that.
It's only 13 episodes, so that's like 6 hours of content, 6.5. Go watch it and then listen to this again.
Yeah. So like now that we've gotten that out of the way, like I'll give a brief little synopsis of what the show is about. So like the show is following our main character Kino, which is like she's like a 15-year-old girl, I think, right?
I don't know if
I
they
would
actually
say she's like
her age. But yeah, she's about 15.
Like I think she's like a mid-adolescence, and she has decided to take up traveling, and she has a talking motorcycle, a sentient motorcycle called a motorrad that she rides all throughout the world, and she goes and she hops from country to country to see what they're about, what the people are like, what their customs are and whatnot. And she stays in each country for 3 days to get a feel for what the country is about. Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
And the whole show, like, and this is something that I've been debating for a long time, is, like, what is the philosophy behind the show? Because, like, I've always gotten the Taoist vibe from Kino's journey. Like, you know, like, one of my favorite things about the show is that she has such a level-headed mindset about what she sees, you know?
Yeah,
whether it be...
the writer kind of establishes Kino as not necessarily, like, a person that goes to a country and then interacts with it. She's more of an observing force, which sometimes causes things to happen, but most of the time she's just observing the country itself to figure out what it's like. Like, she's not like, I'm going to fix this country, I'm going to do something. It's very, very interesting that she's not like a plot device almost.
Yeah, like, it's almost like she's like you said, she's just observing and she's just being there, you know? But there's obviously some interaction and some meddling with countries. Like, you see the Colosseum episode.
Yeah, for sure, the Colosseum episode. The 2 Colosseum episodes.
Like,
that's the only 2-parter.
Yeah, which is probably my favorite episode. Like, I really enjoyed that episode. And I watched the new version of the Colosseum episode, and I was just like, oh, it's so different. It's like, it's bad. Let me just say that. The new series, I watched 2 episodes of it, and the feel is already super different. Like, it almost makes you hate Kino because she almost seems like a brat that just wants to get her way, you know?
Dang, that's unfortunate. I really like the regular, or the original Kino style.
Yeah, it was, the original Kino is just like, it's like one of those animes that's just too hard to follow up.
That's
like,
true.
It's just such
I can agree with that.
It's like trying to follow up. Let me think. You know, it's sequelitis, you know? Like, you try to follow it up, and it's just like, I think people maybe get in their head or something. I don't know. But, like, when people try... I mean, it's not really supposed to be a sequel. It's more like... It's like half sequel, half...
reinterpretation.
Half, like, its own... Yeah, reinterpretation, you know? Like, it's got some new stuff, it's got some old stuff, but I could only watch 2 episodes without retching. The new one is really bad. But let's just talk exclusively about... I mean, you only watched the old one.
I've only watched 2003, so what we've learned so far is the new version is not as good as this version. So let's isolate down. Let's say we're gonna purely talk about 2003 and how it stands as an anime.
Yeah. So since you're the one that just watched it, like, it's fresh in your mind, I want to hear your thoughts. Okay. Like, how do you feel about Kino's journey? I
thought it was really, really cool. I kind of want to break this down in little segments. So let's talk about let's start with just how the anime starts in the first episode. I really like it. Just straight drops you in. It doesn't do any backstory on Kino, really. It just drops you in.
Yeah, no exposition,
in a
right?
There's nothing. It's like, okay, here's the main character, clearly, with a talking bike that they don't even address it, whether that's weird or not. Like, for the first episode, I was like, is she the only one that can talk to the bike? Is she crazy? Can other people hear it?
So, wait, what was the first episode again? For some reason, I thought the first episode was about the 3 hunters.
No. That's the second episode. No.
What was the first episode?
Slave traders?
Yeah, that's
episode 2,
because
that one I was like, that's fucking crazy. Definitely want to talk about that episode. I really like that one a lot. The first one, I lost all my notes, which is terrible, because I took all of them, and now they're just gone. So now I gotta do some work to remember. What was the first episode? The first episode's the one with the empaths, basically, the ones that can listen to other people's feelings. The Land of Visible Pain.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Which...
Yeah, I remember now.
That was crazy. What an idea.
Yeah, dude, like, I actually think that has to do with... it's the same thing with, what is it? Neon Genesis Evangelion. You know, like, in Neon Genesis Evangelion, they talk about, this... I forgot who it was. Oh, Schopenhauer's, theory or something like that. Like, he talks about the hedgehogs. What is it? The hedgehog something. But it's something to do with hedgehogs where, because they have spines, even when it's cold outside and they want to huddle together, they still have to keep space between each other. You know?
Yeah.
Or else they get hurt. And I think this episode of The Land of Visible Pain, you see this same premise kind of playing out, where like everyone doesn't want to be with each other because they know it's going to turn into chaos, you know?
Yeah. Going back to the very first thing in the episode, though, they have like the kind of prologue thing before she starts on the journey, and the line that sticks out to me for the whole series is that a traveler has to be decisive.
Yeah.
That is completely true. If you're going to do anything, you have to decide on doing it. You can't be wishy-washy, back and forth. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. If you're going to, you have to commit to something, which is, I think, a phenomenal start to a show. So you already know Kino's character she's going to decide on doing stuff.
Yeah, and you know, that actually, I never thought about this, but just talking about Kino's journey now is making me think how much there is the same in relation to Neon Genesis Evangelion. Like, I'm thinking that quote you just told me made me think of another. Have you seen Neon Genesis?
I've seen all the movies. I have not committed to watching the original show yet.
Oh, the original show has some really nice philosophical bits, and there's one at the end where it's pretty much the whole episode is just it's almost like a psychotherapy session for Shinji, right? His name's Shinji.
Yeah, Shinji.
But like, and there's this part where it's just like very simple sketches of Shinji. I want to call him Kinji for some reason, but Shinji, and like it's like shows the whole screen is white at first. And then it's like, now you're completely free. You can do whatever you want. You don't need to be bound by lines and borders. You know what? You know, and like, then he's like, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Where should I go? And then like, all of a sudden, whatever omnipotent voice talking to him says, okay, well, here, like, I'll give you a line to give you, to ground you. And so like then you see a line appear on the screen, and then Shinji's starting to walk on that line, and then it's like, oh, that makes me feel better, you know? And it's interesting how like when you're in the face of all this freedom, you're like, it can give you, and this actually has to do with another philosophy of Kierkegaard, you know, and I've been reading a lot of Kierkegaard recently, is that in the face of freedom, we feel angst, you know?
Right, because you have so many options.
He calls
Absolutely.
It... Yeah, so he calls it the fear of looking over the precipice. And it's like, it's the anxiety of knowing that you're completely free in life. That when you even have the freedom to kill yourself, you know? And that gives people, sometimes it gives people an overwhelming amount of anxiety that they're not able to handle. And you have to make a decision on how to live your life, or else like you're just overtaken by anxiety. And so like like when you're thinking about Kino and this traveling thing, and then with this Neon Genesis and Kierkegaardian kind of philosophy, it's like you go forward and you just do, you know? But even then, like, there's more to it, you know? Like Kierkegaard, and I'm going to be talking about Kierkegaard a lot because I've been thinking about his philosophy recently. But Kierkegaard basically separates life into, well, there's 3 different modes of living, and the first is the aesthetic. Yeah, the aesthetic. And so the aesthetic lives pretty much for pleasure. You know, the aesthetic would be someone that goes out and parties all day, or like an artist that lives for their art, or, you know, like that kind of thing. Someone that lives for pleasure.
Okay.
And then a level up would be the I can't speak today. But the person that follows their life through ethics. So the socialist kind of person, like the person that it usually is read as someone that abides by the laws of their society. You know, and like that someone wants to be a good person, you know, wants to help others and all this. And that there's it's a higher level in terms of spirituality, but it's still not the highest level. And like Kierkegaard's highest level is this religious level. And I don't know if that's how you translated in English. Like, I've been reading Kierkegaard solely in Chinese and Swedish. So, like, so if I'm coming up with terms on the spot, you know why. But, like, his last level is the religious level. And Kierkegaard's whole thing is that we can only decide for ourselves. Like, in the end, and this is something I love, and it goes right into Kino's journey, is that our life is walking on the road and not meeting a single traveler.
Very interesting.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah, that's a really good line.
I love that so much, because that's exactly what life is. When it comes down to it, when you have to make the biggest decisions in life, you're by yourself. It doesn't matter if you have people around you telling you what you can and can't do, or what you should and shouldn't do. In the end, you're the one that takes the lead. You're the one that says, okay, this person is right, so I'm going to do that. You're the one that makes the last decision in the end, right?
Yeah.
So this is like, and also with Kierkegaard's religious level of life is that you take the leap of faith. You take the leap of believing in God. And like, he's a religious, like, he's the start of existentialism, but he came at it in a religious context. But you can also look at it as trusting in the universe, or trusting in some sort of higher power, you know, not just a religious one. And so, like, let me think. So, like, in order to trust in that, you have to take the leap of faith, where you have to just find your own subjective truth. It's like it's hard to explain, because it's something that you can't convey with words. It's something you have to experience on a subjective level. You have to find your own reason to live. And then that's the highest level of existence to Kierkegaard.
Is to have a reason to live?
I think that, yeah, and have your own subjective reason to live, and like, in relation to a higher power. And I think that might be what Kino is looking for in her journey, is that subjective truth.
Yeah, considering her origin, I could definitely see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, and I I talked a lot about Kierkegaard, so like let's get back into the content that of today's I mean, like this is good too. It's just like related. It gives us kind of like
kind of a foothold in the philosophy of Kino.
Yeah. I think it's Kierkegaardian, and it's got a little bit of Daoism in it too. But like I just talked a whole bunch. I made a lot of flapping sounds with my mouth. Why don't you
I was gonna ask you,
say some more stuff?
When was the last time you watched Kino's Journey? Do you remember specifically?
It was last year.
Okay. So
I just brushed up a little bit.
I'm going to start breaking the episodes into... I'm going to ask you what you remember the most about the episode, and then I'll kind of break on that. So, Land of Visible Pain, what's the thing you remember the most about that episode?
So, the thing I remember the most is the couple. The couple that because they started hearing their own thoughts... they stopped loving each other. Well, they didn't really stop loving each other. They just couldn't bear each other anymore.
Yeah, because I think that it's very interesting. Because I talked to Ashley about that pretty much immediately after I watched that episode. Was what a bad idea it would be to be able to hear every single thought that your significant other has. Because you can't agree on everything all the time. So having... moments where it would be better to just kind of separate and then to hear like the negative thought instead of just being like, okay, we agree to disagree on this one. It would be something more like brutal because your emotions speak way sharper than your words can ever do. Yeah. So like what they were was that one liked floral stuff, one liked growing plants, and the other liked music. And when they were getting to know each other, they didn't know that. But once they were married, they found out that the other didn't like their hobby. So when you can't talk to your significant other about a hobby you really like without them thinking and you hearing that they don't like it, you just don't want to talk about it anymore. Because whenever somebody's like, I don't really care about that, you don't really want to talk to them about it anymore. So I think that's very truthful.
I think it's truthful in the beginning. Because, like, with me and Fang in the beginning, I think it kind of had this kind of curve. It was a bell curve of time. And so, like, in the beginning, Fang's thing, of course, is yoga. My thing is, I have a couple things, actually. I have music, I have philosophy, and I have languages, of course. And so, especially languages, I like to just blabber on about languages forever. And in the beginning, when I would talk to her about languages and she would talk to me about yoga, we would be really interested. But then slowly we would get bored with the other person talking about the same thing over and over again. And so then we would just... And me and Fan has always been really truthful about how we feel at the moment. And we would just say, I really don't want to listen to that right now. You already spoke about that like so many times that there's a word in Chinese, 听腻了. It's like already listened to it so much that you get jaded. I guess it's like the best word. You get jaded by it. And so, but then over time, we even so because it's a part of us, we can't just stop speaking about it. So we still would speak more and more about it. And the thing is, we started enjoying each other's hobbies more again. And now, like, I seldom tell her I don't want to listen to her thoughts on yoga. And then she now seldom tells me, I don't want to hear your thoughts on language. And so I think actually that being truthful, like, it's the same for anything. Like, you get a honeymoon period, then you get a period where you're jaded, and then once you get to, like, an understanding of that subject or that person or whatever it is, once you get a familiarity, you start to enjoy it again. And that's the curve. That's the reverse bell curve with becoming familiar with anything, I think.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can definitely see that relative in my relationship as well, and see, I have this problem where when I pick up a hobby, I dive into it like super head first and want to talk about it literally all the time. So I've done that with like learning a language, getting into D&D, this podcasting stuff. I'll just dip in and out of stuff, and I will just like jump into the pool all the way and like want to pick up every possible auxiliary thing for it. So I have to kind of temper myself to be like, hold on, let's see if you actually really like this, because I have to wait until after the honeymoon phase to be like, should I really be involved in this? So I have that bell curve happening all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And this is just a natural thing for everyone. And I think we should have this kind of thing, because if you want to build a habit, it should be hard. Or else, like, every little thing that you encounter, you're going to make into a habit, and then it's just going to be chaos.
And then you have a billion habits.
So it's a good thing. It's a good thing that it's hard to create habits. And then if you know how the system works, if you know that if you want that habit, then you need to push through that, like, post-honeymoon period to get to the familiarity period. Then you'll actually, like, be able to control your habits and pick and choose them. So that's the thing about that, like, that you're all over the place with your hobbies. You can just, like, get to, of course you want to see, like, do I really love this hobby? Is it important to me? You actually need to ask more questions than just, like, do I like this hobby? Is it pleasurable? You can also ask yourselves, is this useful, Is this something that I feel in my heart is like resonates with me? Does it resonate with, like, my spirit, my soul?
I really like that phrasing. Also, we are way off topic.
Yeah, of course. So, like, we can save that topic for another time.
I would love to talk about hobbies on another podcast, but back to the thing. Let's move on. So, great episode. Really thought-provoking stuff in terms of, like, whether people should know your emotions constantly, and, like, kind of how isolated a person can get. Because at the end of the episode, when Kino wants to leave, the guy's like, you could stay with me. Like, you could stay with me forever, or, like, just a couple more days. Like, he was grasping for that social aspect because the country had just destroyed it. Since, like, it was crazy. They were afraid to talk to Kino. Like, they saw her and just freaked out. I thought that was really very thought-provoking right away. Immediately I was hooked. I was like, this is great. I love it. Great first episode.
Yeah. I was thinking about something the other day about just the structure of the world they're in. Like, what's up with, like, every country having just, like, a giant wall around it?
Yeah, it was kind of really abstract style almost. It's just like, Kino's traveling, there's an outside world that Kino travels on, and then there's the countries. And they're their own thing. They don't interact with each other too much. And they kind of act as travelers are very, very important, because they kind of tell the story of this country, because they don't emigrate or anything, really. They don't talk about that
that's the thing. These countries are so insular that they could just be islands.
Yeah.
Like, what's the difference between an island and this giant walled city, Like, and actually it's also a lot like early Chinese cities, like pretty much in ancient China, like, all cities had giant walls around them, to keep people out. But I mean, actually, I think in Europe it was also like that, right?
I mean, yeah, there were keeps and stuff that I think that's just how countries were, because I think everybody thought that everybody else was out to get them. Like, you knew your insular group, and everybody else was a barbarian.
Yeah, I think that was just the truth at that time. It's like there was always people trying to ransack your shit.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, so, like, going into the second episode, I guess, right?
This one's the one we talked about earlier, about the 3 slave traders, a tale of feeding off others. What do you remember about this episode?
Oh, this is also one of my favorite episodes, and this is one of the episodes that I constantly watch by itself. I remember that one of the things that really stood out to me in this episode was first of all, the rabbits. There's a very Native American vibe with how she treats the rabbits.
Yep.
You know, like I'm not super familiar with Native American philosophy and like, and, you know, even say Native American, it's like, are you saying that all Native Americans are like that? I don't know what tribe came up with this kind of thinking, but like there's some sort of Native American tribe that every time they kill an animal, they kind of thank the animal for its sustenance. Mm-hmm. And that's what you see right off the bat in Kino's journey. Like she meets the salesman or whatever you want to call them, the three guys, and then they're super weak and they've been stuck in the snow for like I don't know how many days.
Yeah,
and they're on the verge of starving and also like freezing to death, all this stuff. It's like the middle of winter, and so she decides to help them and goes out to kill some rabbits and gives them some like a rabbit stew. And then after a couple of days, they're better. But then they turn on her and they say, "Oh, we're slave traders, and we need to have a slave once we go back to our city, or else we can't make any money," or whatever the reason is.
Yeah. And then you see the results of Kino's training, because you kind of see this in both the first and the second episode, is that every night she practices with her gun.
Yeah.
So you kind of see that she already knows how to handle this stuff when things like that happen. So yeah, when they turned on her, I was like, whoa. Because I really didn't see that coming. But I think what stuck out to me right away was the Native American thing. But the line as it was translated for me was, I have an obligation to this rabbit, and if they die, then I failed the obligation. So you take something to make something else happen. Like you take this rabbit's life, knowing that you're going to save these other three, and if you didn't, then you would fail your obligation to the rabbit that you've just killed. And I thought that was very poignant. Poignant?
Yeah, and well, I don't think poignant is that word. I used to think poignant meant that. I think it's just like, oh my god, I can only think of a Chinese word right now, tu-chu, but hey, that doesn't help anything.
Put that in a translator.
But yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah. But yeah, like it was also it's very stark. You can say that, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Stark would be good. And then
it stuck out to you. It stuck out to you. There you go.
And then the cinematography at the end is really good, or the framing when the three men are killed, the three rabbit skins are in the background.
Mm-hmm. And like, then it goes back. I think she talked also about. She talked with Hermes about this dilemma too. Like she was talking about the value of life, and she was saying like that she values human life over the rabbit's life.
Yes.
You know?
And she couldn't really phrase why. Was it because they were humans like her? Or was it because she just arbitrarily made this decision? Like that's kind of the
or was it because she was a traveler?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and she would want travelers to do the same for her if she was in that situation. And I love that's one of the things that I love the most about Kino's journey is they make everything ambivalent. Everything is ambiguous. Yes. Everything is in this gray area all the time. And see, that's the thing I love about Kino is she's a gray character. She's not black or white.
Yep. And
see, that's what I hate about the new series is they make things black and white all of a sudden. And that's what the first episode, and maybe in the first couple scenes, I already saw that. And I was like, fuck, I know that this is going to be not my favorite carnival ride in the carnival. And I don't know what I meant by that, but you probably understood it.
Okay.
But, you know...
I'm going to start using that in my real life day-to-day. This is not my favorite carnival ride in the carnival. I'm going to help. I'm going to fix a computer issue that I hate.
Yeah,
this is not my favorite carnival ride.
Oh, that made me think about. So like, there's shitty carnivals in Collinsville all the time, right? There's like one that's like, I forgot what it's called, but there's one that's hosted by like a church school, and then every time they have this, it just seems like. It's funny because it's a church school hosting it, but it seems like the only people that go there are like drunkards and pot smokers, you know, like potheads and drunkards. And then like the thing that always stood out to me is that they had this like thing called like the chainsaw or something, and it's just this rusty fuck of a thing. And it's like on this axle, and then both ends has like a cart on it that straps you in, and like the cart's on it like spins on a vertical axis, and then the carts on each end of this pole like also spin on their own. So it spins and you spin and all this spinning, and it just sounds like a fucking rusty wreck of a thing. It sounds like in the next rotation, it's just going to, just out of nowhere, every bolt is just going to fall out and then everyone dies. You know, it just, like, every time I see that thing, I'm like, oh my God, look at that rusty fuck of a thing. I don't even want to walk like
anywhere near it,
like yards away. Yeah, like I want to keep like my distance from it in case like it just decides, it just like makes an old rusty sigh and just like, my existence is futile, and it just like it just kind of like just not, it like implodes on itself, like it just gives up on securing all the bolts in itself and just falls into a rusty pile of everything, and then blood and guts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but anyway,
I get what you're saying. Okay, let's move on to episode 3 after our wonderful carnival ride story.
I had one thing,
one more thing
but
on
like
two?
About on the ambivalence and the ambiguousness of the show. You know, that's, I think, the thing about Kino's journey. It never has an answer for things. The answer is the question.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Whenever at the end of the episode, it's always like, what decision was right there? There's usually not one. There's usually both have their good points and both have their bad points.
Yeah, see, and I think this is what Kino's journey does well, is that it discusses like very ethical, philosophical questions without being like preachy, you know?
Yeah, it really doesn't. It never does a like, this is what happened and what should have happened. It's always just like, here it is. We're not going to tell you what we think at all, or what Kino thought. Kino normally always answers to Hermes like, I don't know, just because. It's very pragmatic.
And see, this is what one of my favorite types of people in the world is the person that says, I don't know, and is okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the people that I hate the most, and you have this on both ends of the intelligence spectrum, you know, like, are either stupid people that don't, well, it's just actually, yeah, it's just pretty much on both ends. It's stupid people that don't understand, that don't acknowledge that they're stupid. I like people that are stupid and say I'm stupid. Like, that's what I do too. Like, I'll say my philosophies and my views on things, but I'll also be like, I'm also probably wrong in a lot of senses, but here's what I think, you know?
Uh-huh.
And I like to, it doesn't matter like what background you're from, you know, if your IQ is, and IQ, we still don't know how accurate of a measurement IQ is, but you know, well, that could be debatable, but like, you know, like the stupidest person in the world could be my teacher. The smartest person in the world could also be a complete moron, you know, like like philosophy should be separate from that, you know, it should be separate from any kind of variable. And I actually think that it's good that Kino is young, but she talks to people, even adults, like she's like an elder.
Yeah. She's I think she's kind of just like a force of nature almost. Just this object that travels to other places and then interacts with it, and she doesn't ever put herself into a higher or lower situation. Like, she's never subservient or a dominant force. It's just she's just there to watch, and I think that's really, really cool.
Mm-hmm. And the only problem, though, is the Colosseum episode. Like, and actually, this is also something I kind of like, is that every once in a while you do see a glimpse of her humanity. You know, you can tell that she's trying to be, like you said, that force of nature, almost like just be with nature and just observe from the outside. And that's also what gives me the Taoist vibe from her. But then you still see her humanity. And I think some of the places you see her humanity is, you know, actually you might see it every episode. You see her empathy with like the slave traders, and then you also see, like in the Colosseum episode, she takes it in her own hand to kill the king and change the country. The suffering, you know. And then the most the thing that the part that's most obvious in this sense is the last episode where she goes to the I forgot what is called, the calm country, maybe, where it's
a kind land, a kind country.
A kind land, yeah. But like she wanted to stay there longer than 3 days, right?
Yep, and they told her no.
And she was like completely devastated when the entire country was destroyed by the volcano.
Yep, I thought that was a very heavy last episode.
Yeah, like it. But then after she got collected herself, she just kept going.
Yep,
you know, that's the only thing she could do. So like let's what else do you got? Let's keep going and abiding by your schedule here.
All right, so number 3, the Land of Prophecies.
That was that early in?
Yeah.
I always see that as like one of the last episodes.
It is not, according to what I have.
Okay, yeah. So
what do you remember most about this one?
I remember that this episode was pretty much separated into like 2 different storylines. There was the land where they had like this Bible kind of like prophecy. Like there was this book, and that they read it and they saw it as like prophesizing like the end of the world.
Yep.
But then like Kino also went to another country after it, where she learned that there was a poet that was really happy at first, and then the king wanted him to write a sad poem, but he had no sadness in his heart. So his wife, in order to give him like grief in his life, killed herself. And then from that day on, he just kept repeating this like really sad shit. And then after he died, his daughter continued the reciting of his poem. And then like it became this like the sad land, you know, where everyone was in grief all the time. Sorrow. And then you find out later on that the prophecy that the other country was talking about was actually his poem.
Yep, and they were just interpreting it with the religion. That's pretty much the whole episode. Yeah. I thought it was a really that episode's almost a funny episode when you learn that last twist. Because when Kino arrives in the first city, and they think that the end of the world is tomorrow, so they let her have everything for free. They take care of her. They give her whatever she wants because it's the end of the world tomorrow. Everybody in the town believes that. Everybody in the town believes they're correct. And then the world doesn't end the day after. The world doesn't end. So a couple of them come to Kino and are like, hey, about that stuff. And Kino's just like, you gave it to me for free. Like, it's fantastic. And then she takes off.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's perfectly accurate. Like, I think that's a great, kind of a bit of a comedic moment. And then she goes to the Land of Sorrow and they go over that. And I thought that was a very interesting, an important thing to note is that the king was going to kill the poet if he couldn't write a sad poem. So to save his life, his wife killed herself next to him. And from then on, he was completely devastated. And I thought that was interesting in the sense that how can you write something so sorrowful without true grief? Like if you just if your life is just handed to you, or if you're just always happy or everything, being sad is a foreign concept. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I've never had depression in my life, so when people talk to me about depression, I have no grasp of how that feels. Like, I don't ever have the feeling I don't want to get out of bed, or I just don't feel like a purposeful human. Like, I cannot relate to it. I understand that it exists. The depression comes in those states, but I can't relate to it because I've never felt it. So
that also might be a curse for you, because if one day you actually get hit with depression, then
it would be something I've never dealt with before.
You might not know how to. Yeah, so like or it also might be because you don't know what it actually, like where the seed of depression actually is. Like you probably have felt it before, you just haven't been able to hone in on it. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe. I've never felt like the depths of depression, I guess would be more accurate. Because, I mean, I felt sad. But that's not the same.
Yeah. Well, like depression pretty much, like if I can give like a very brief synopsis, it's pretty much like, really what it feels like to me is like when you're being pulled in every direction and then you don't know what direction to go in. And like, really, like, I remember the pit of depression is pretty much how I describe it is you see one pixel of the entire world, and in that one pixel, everything is bullshit. Everything is shit. That's pretty much how I would see depression, and you just don't see a point in doing anything. I think it really comes from pretty much any depression is a existential crisis. Really, you just get. It's the whole thing with Kierkegaard over again. It's like in the end, you have to make some sort of purpose. You have to make some sort of choice on your own. You know. But anyway, like let me see. Like, in that episode, there was actually a third part to it. When Kino was leaving that country, she also met soldiers that were about to invade that country, the prophecy country. And they said that they interpreted the prophecy also, but they interpreted it as if they didn't destroy that city, then their country was going to get destroyed.
Yeah. And Kino didn't say anything about that, so it kind of acts as the ambivalent, like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But yeah, what a terrible to be like. Well, she did ask, like, is this really what you think the answer is? And then he was like, it doesn't define what smashing the green plate is, so we've determined that it's wiping out that entire country.
Yeah, it's just such a great episode. Like, all the story, like, when you think of that, it was all fitted in like a 20-minute episode. It just blows my mind.
Yeah,
like,
it's insane
the
how
storytelling,
tight the story is.
Yeah, it's like, and you have 3 lines of story going at the same one, and each one could be its own thing, Well, actually, the last one I think is just a cherry on top. It's just
it's kind of like just
my god, it's
interpretation. It just shows the power of it.
The writing is just so fantastic. It's just like they give you just enough detail to empathize with the people in the story, and then you have Kino being like the observing force, and then you have the serendipity of it all. That Kino just left the country when another country was going to invade and kill everyone off.
Yep.
You know? Wow, my God, it's just like, it's so good, man. So, like, what's the next episode we got on this list?
The next episode I've got here is Land of Adults, and this is the kind of origin of Kino. This was her hometown, and it was that when you turn 12, they do a procedure on you that takes away your sense of not wanting to do something, basically, is what I took from it. And that made you an adult. And this is where Kino met her first traveler, who kind of showed her the outside world.
Which consequently was the original Kino.
Yes.
She was.
I thought that was really cool.
We
don't know her original name at all.
But actually, like, I read some forums on about this particularly. Like, people were lip reading what she was saying. Like, she, in the beginning, you saw what her name was. But, like, her lipping what her name was when she was talking to Kino, but the original Kino. But, like, there was no audio. I think it was just wind. And then, actually, people say her name is Sakura.
I would guess that, because then that would come full circle in the last episode. The girl that she really likes talking to is named Sakura.
Yeah. That's. I think that's exactly. Yeah, I remember making that same connection. Like the last episode and this episode, the Land of Adults. It's connected, but they don't tell you. And I think that's also another amazing aspect of their storytelling is they connect things, but they let you make the connections more than spoon feeding you. I hate when people spoon feed me, you know, like when in the beginning of animes, like for instance, Kill la Kill, they just start telling you what everything's about. It's like the people, they just tell the characters what they already know, you know, and it's like, come on, can we not do this? Like, let's just show me, don't tell me. You know?
Show don't tell is a great mantra, I would say, for great television.
I thought you were going to say it's a great. I thought you were going to say it's a great Rush song, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, there's a Rush song on their album Red Tide, I think, where it's like, "Show me, don't tell me," and that's the only line I remember. What really stuck out to you with this episode?
This episode, what stuck out to me is how willing the original Kino was to save, to save a child that he had just met. Because he was like, I only stayed in the place 3 days. But when the rest of the town revolted on, I guess we'll call her Sakura at the moment, when they revolt on her, he steps in the way and sacrifices his life for hers and lets her get away. And he doesn't even think about it. He just, that's what I'm going to do, because he sees the spark of a child in her. And when she asked, can I not get the procedure? And they were like, we're going to kill you instead.
What was the... Oh, yeah, the procedure made them, like, more interested in their job. Or not really interested. It just made them more automatic.
It just made them willing to do the things they don't like. And that was how she described being an adult to Kino.
And, like... Yeah, it was just, like... I think that's, like, the spark of life. I think what they're getting at is that this idea of the adult in our world is really... getting rid of the spark of life, you know, taking away your free spirit. And this is what I see all the time with people. Like, one of the things that I hate the most is when people say, I'm an adult, I know more than you. Or the other thing is, like, you're a child, you don't know anything about the world. Or another thing, what is the other thing they say? It's like be an adult. You have to be an adult. It's like, what the fuck does that mean? You know, does it mean like I should be boring and I should do the things I don't want to do? And should I give up on my dreams? You know, it's like, I think people don't really understand what adult means. I think really what they do is they confuse age with actual experience of the world. And like, also they like to, because I think a lot of people, why they use the adult argument is because they didn't do anything with their lives themselves. So now they're trying to take their revenge on the world by telling kids, don't follow your dreams.
Uh-huh.
So like, I've hated ageism ever since I was a kid. Like when adults have told me that, it's like, you know, my mom and dad would say, like, we're your parents, we know better. You know, it's like, how do you know better? It's like, so are you saying that if there is a 14-year-old that can, you know, that can play the piano like a god, you know, he's piano god, that you can play piano better than him? You know, it's like, okay, you've never touched a piano in your life. He's younger than you. So are you saying that you can play piano better than him? It has nothing to do with age, you know?
Yep.
And I think this is, and this is something that I really get pissed off about people, is like when they say, I'm older than you, so I know more about the world. And I think this episode, what it's saying is, like, it's opposing that kind of thought, like that, the idea of being an adult, you know? It's like, of course you want responsibility in your life and you want to be realistic about things, but that doesn't mean being an adult. Being an adult really, to me, means giving up on your dreams and giving up on what you enjoy in life in order to be an adult, in order to do the things that other people say that is right, you know?
Yeah, I can definitely get that feeling from this episode, the way that they portray adulting, like adultism, that it's at 12, you become an adult by us taking away your like enjoyment of things, basically, and your unenjoyment of things. They basically just strip you down to, you just do what you think is best. You become the ultimate pragmatism, like no empathy, no joy, no feeling like that.
Well, I don't even think it's pragmatism, actually, because, like, you know, the pragmatic thing about, you know, the thing about people talking about pragmatism a lot is that they don't understand the world, how the world works, and they just regurgitate what other people say and regurgitate the stuff of people that gave up on their dreams say. Because, like, in actuality, if you want to make it in the world, you just got to work your ass off.
Yeah.
And you just got to learn more about the world. It's not that you can't achieve your dreams. It's, you can achieve your dreams, but you have to expect to work your ass off and learn more about, like, following your dreams. And also, you can't achieve all your dreams. Like, for me, it's like, when I was a kid, I want to be a composer. And even now, I want to still be a composer. I want to write. And at one point, I wanted to learn every language in the world. But the reality of the situation is that I'm a human being. I'm one human being. So I'm not going to have the time to do all that shit. And I don't have the mental capacity to do all that stuff. That's just a fact of being human, you know? And so, like, getting that knowledge and also, like, living through, like, chasing that dream is more pragmatic than just not doing anything at all. Like, pragmatism really comes from musing over your experiences and getting something new out of it, rather than just regurgitating what other people tell you, you know? And especially the people that never tried to, if you listen to the advice of people that don't follow their dreams, have never tried, you know? or have got quit after they thought it wasn't interesting, then why does that matter? How is that pragmatic? You should be listening to people that have already got there or that are on the journey of getting there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, to me, be like this idea of being an adult is just, I mean, like, I think we need to read, I think it should just be being a responsible person. And that can happen, or being like, just being a good person, like in every sense, you know? Being a well-rounded person, or I don't know how to define it. What would you think? What is your thoughts on this?
I think that the base, being an adult, if you were going to define the word adult, it would be to be a good person. If everybody was just a good person, the world would be good. That would just be the effect of it.
But then what's the definition of good, right?
I would say something that, like, you know what's not good? Being the person who fucking goes up to the waitress or something and tells them they're doing a shitty job for no reason. That's not being a good person. That's not helping anybody. Being a good person is being a person.
Well, what if she actually is being a?
That's why I said no reason. Job. For no reason.
Oh, with no reason.
Like just to feel better about yourself. Or the person who goes and treats the teller at, like, the cashier at a Walmart like shit. Just don't do anything to somebody that you wouldn't want done to yourself.
The golden rule.
Like that. If everybody followed that, it would just be, I don't know if everything would be fine, but I think that would be a better, I don't know. I'm not a philosophy person too much, so being an adult to me is just bettering yourself and not bringing other people down.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's
perhaps you see it more in a positive light than I do.
Yeah, I don't. I think negativity doesn't have a place. I don't think it helps anybody.
Well, like, it depends. For me, it depends on your definition of negativity. Because, like, for me, being negative is just about being authentic. Because sometimes, like, I have negative views about things, like, but I think that's okay. Kind of like, for instance, when Fong Fong gives me a gift that I don't like, I just tell her, it's like, I don't like this. Even though it might make you cringe thinking about that, it's just like, I just tell her right off the bat, I don't like this. And I've told you before, I don't like this. So why did you buy me this? You know? But then when she actually gives me a gift that I really like, I really tell her how much I like it and why I like it. And then I use it every day because I really do like it. You know, it's about being authentic.
I wouldn't qualify that as negativity, though. I would qualify that as a positive response in the sense that you are trying to help her not give you things that you hate.
Well, and I think
because if you just say, I like it and you hate it, then they're just going to do it over again.
I think what you're getting at is, like, negativity for negativity's sake.
Yeah, like, there's no reason to just be down in the dumps about something or just to always hate on something. Like, if you're going to give something criticism, do it in the way that would make it better. Don't just give it criticism and be like, it sucks. Why does it suck?
Yeah, see, and this is yeah, exactly. Why does it suck? That's what I'm getting at. Like, for me, and this is also goes back to Kierkegaard and most existentialists, and Daoism too, and maybe even Buddhism. It pretty much every religion, like, holds authenticity very, very high. You know, like, and that's also for me. Like, I try to be as authentic as possible when I'm in my life. You know, and so I think that's really, for me, that's the ultimate good, is being authentic. And so, like, being an adult to me actually it's the definition of being inauthentic. You know, it's like when people say be an adult, it's like, be polite, But what if I don't want to be polite? What if right now, like, it's better to be rude, or what other people say is rude? For instance, if someone gives me a gift and I say, I don't like this, a lot of people will see that as rude. But if I want to be authentic, then I just say right off the bat, I don't like this, you know? And that's what kids do.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Kids are the most authentic.
Yeah. And actually, I learn from kids all the time. You know, like when I was working at the toy store, one of the things that stuck out to me the most, one of the things that I respected the most about this one particular kid, and a lot of kids did the same thing, is just... But this one time, it was this 5-year-old kid that I was showing him how to play this game. And I don't know, we were just having a great time. He was laughing and we were playing this game and all this. And then I don't know what clicked in his head, but there was just like a split-second decision where he was holding cards and the game pieces in his hand. And then all of a sudden, boom, everything fell to the table and he was just like, I don't want this. And he just walked away without saying a word. And I was like, because I know exactly what was going on in his head, or I interpreted what was going on in his head was he was playing, he was enjoying it, and there was something that just hit him that said, I don't like this anymore. And then he didn't process that thought. It just immediately resonated through his body and just quit. It just ejected from the situation. And that was the most pure display of authenticity I think I've ever seen. Is just immediate feeling to action. You know? And I think that I see a 5-year-old boy can be my teacher at that point. And that's what I think people, when they're talking about being adult, they don't understand, is that you can be an adult and be much, much stupider than a newborn child. You know? Like, you can be much, much, like, you can be less knowledgeable about the world than a 3-year-old child. So I think this is what we need to do. Like, and with this episode, you know, of Kino's journey, it's like, to me, all these people that are destroying their spirits, they're the stupid ones. Yep. They're the ones that don't understand what humanity is about, you know? And this is also what Kino, I think, is, you know, it goes back to the Kierkegaardian thing, is like, this is what Kino is searching for, is she's using her spirit in order to find truth in her life.
I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, so next episode.
This one, I think, is my personal favorite episode. The 3 Men Along the Rails.
Oh, that one is also... Dude, all of these episodes are just amazing.
I absolutely loved this episode. Every single thing that it revealed throughout the episode was just building on top of itself, and I was like, oh my goodness. I loved every second. The first thing, she's riding down the railroad tracks, and they haven't been used in a long time. Clearly no trains are coming. Runs into an old man working on the railroad for 50 years. He's cleaning it up. She's like, why are you doing that? And it's because the company told him to, and it's like, okay, so the only reason you have for this is you're paying for somebody back in the country you've been to, which you've never been back to. But he...
And they never told him to stop, right?
Yeah, and they never told him to stop. 50 years, and he started when he was 18, so he's 68. But the thing you notice is that he doesn't complain or anything. He's still just going at it. He doesn't feel stressed. He doesn't feel anything. He's just doing what he was told to do. So, and then he asks Kino to tell him a story, and she tells him about the place where humans don't have to do work. And in that place, humans work anyway because they feel that they need to have stress. And I was like, I personally don't believe that, because I want a world where people don't have to work. I want things to be automated, because at that point, then humanity can literally just do whatever it wants. When you're not tied down to having to work to do something, I mean, I guess that is also the fear of the precipice, or the being on the precipice. It goes back to that Kierkegaardian thing where once you have the option to do anything, are you willing to do anything? Or what if you have the ability to do everything, will you do anything? So the humans in this town decided that they would just double check robots' work, which is completely pointless. But it gave them something to do and something to stress about. So they would feel, I guess, like alive would be the sense in that word. Otherwise, they're just like
they would feel that they have purpose, right?
Yeah, purpose is a way better word. And that's why the man feels good, is he has a purpose all the time. It's to clean this railroad.
Kino, and if you think about it, he has a purpose and he has a direction.
Yeah.
And the rails guide him, right?
Yep.
Just like Shinji has that border, right?
Yep, that line. And then she gets to another man along the rails who's tearing the rail apart. This, I was like, oh my god, they're just like completely not giving a shit about that other guy's work. I was like, they never told him to stop, and now they're tearing the rail apart. But then he described that when the rail is polished the way it is, it's easier to take apart for him. And he started when he was 16, so the people are getting younger. And then Kino tells him the same story, and this was the response as well. That was it reflects in all three of the people she meets, is they ask her where she's going, and I don't think she ever has a response. I think she just says wherever. So I think that's interesting that they have a direction, so they wonder what hers could be.
Actually, I think they never reveal her response, because in each instance of them asking, it just turns into that weird transition.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It puts reverb on it, and it's like, where are you going, Kino? And then, like, I think only at the end, when she's talking to Hermes, does she kind of give like a gray answer to that question.
So the second guy's tearing apart, she tells the same story. And then the third guy is building the rail again.
Yeah.
I was like, so they're all doing this for a reason. They don't know it really outside of their own reason, because they never see each other since they're all moving along the path. But they're all part of a bigger picture to do something, like to accomplish a goal. Where if any of them stopped for any reason, it would totally destroy the other's work.
Actually, now that I think about it, I think that this is like a metaphor of the human race's endeavors in general, on a perspective of generation to generation. Like one generation says something is bad, and the next generation will say it's good. And then the generation after that will say it's good again. It usually follows like that kind of pattern.
Yeah. And you just redo the same thing over and over again a lot of the time too.
Yeah. But at the same time, is the human race actually doing something? That's another thing. I mean, like, yeah, we've been doing this whole thing over and over again, but I think in the meantime, we are doing something. Because I think that's one thing that this episode is lacking, is like, well, actually, I don't think it's really lacking. It's just like there's another question there after you think about that, is like, while this is going over, like, you're rebuilding the rails over and over again and taking them apart, like, is it in the long term, in the big picture, is it doing something,
Yeah, and those three men will never know, because they'll die before it probably is finished. So you're doing something, and they all had a reason for their families at home. They don't even know if those people are still alive, honestly. Like, it also like sets in like the idea of a legacy. Like, you do something that you'll never be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that direction to take it either. But let me see. Yeah, what else do you have to say about this episode?
I think the dialogue in this episode is my favorite. The way that she talks to each of the men is... And at the third man, she doesn't even tell the story. Like, he asks for a story, and she's like, no, I don't have one.
Yeah, because I think at that point, she realizes it doesn't matter what I say to you. You're going to just keep on your path.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't change anybody's mind.
Yeah, it actually makes me think of, like, what the Buddha also kind of like taught is like when you're giving people advice, sometimes it doesn't matter if you give a positive or negative answer, they're going to just do what they do. Because like sometimes if you say like don't do something, they'll still do it because they're like, what do you know? And then the other thing is if you tell them to do something, then they'll you know, they'll probably do it, or they'll either not do it. You know, they might think, oh, you're stupid, you know. But like, there's another answer to that question is be silent and let them make their own decision.
Let them make their own choices.
Yeah, like, so it's like there's a point where it's like when you're giving people advice or you're trying to persuade them, it's like sometimes the best persuasion is to just do nothing. And I think a lot of people that I remember actually in high school, there was, I had an ex-girlfriend that later on was a friend, and she always seemed to need to have answers to things. And especially, she was one of those girls, like, I'm pretty sure you know these kinds of girls that always have guys chasing her. And has never not had a boyfriend. And then she has been like, I call them like, I used to call them snake girls, but because I always thought their way of behaving was really like sly and stuff. But now I'm starting to understand why they act the way they do. But like, I remember one day she was telling me like there's this guy chasing after her, you know, and like saying like, oh, I want to be with you and all this stuff. And then like, she just asked me, it's like, what should I do? And it's like, have you thought about doing nothing? And and she was like, like I could hear, like we were talking over the phone then, and like I could hear her brain circuits like short circuiting. And there's like, she's just like, what? And I was just like, yeah, just do nothing. Have you tried nothing? And she's like, no, I can't do that. I'm like, why? And then she's like, I can't do that. And it just, to this day, it's like, it kind of made me, I think that moment made me think, like, people need answers. People really want answers. And when they hear someone say, just do nothing, it confuses them, you know?
It's hard to, it's very difficult to do nothing when you feel that you can act on a situation. It's a skill.
Well, it has to do with Daoism too, with Wu Wei, like inaction.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like that's also something that comes into Kino's journey, is this idea of Wu Wei. And if you're interested in this concept, you can look up the what is it? The School of Life's video on Wu Wei. It's just WUWEI. And it's a really good synopsis of the idea, you know. But that's one of the things about Kino's journey that really gets me, is like the idea of Wu Wei. It's just like, it's not really doing nothing. It's more like just, it's hard to explain actually, because it's such an abstract concept.
Well, it sounds like the person you mentioned does a great job. So go to that channel for some.
Yeah, School of Life. But you know, like, I'm trying to think of like what really it is. It's like, it's not doing nothing. It's just like almost like flowing with the world. You know, if, for instance, right, maybe right now you want to be an entrepreneur, but you don't have the resources, so you just kind of wait. And you just kind of feel the world. And when the opportunity comes, it just kind of comes naturally. It resonates with your spirit, and then you just go with it. It's like a higher level of go with the flow.
Go with the
and
universe.
I think, yeah, like and I think this is something you see with Kino. It's like a lot of the times. It's like, I don't know, actually. Like, what do you think about that? Because I'm lacking words right now.
I would say Kino takes that aspect, very go with the flow attitude. Because, like, I can't remember if it was in. I don't remember what episode it is at the end of where it is at the end of episode 5. Where she decides which way to go just kind of by random choice. Like, just however she feels. Like, she tells that I'm going to go to the left, but then at the last second she takes a right. Because she's just going with how she feels at the moment. It doesn't matter which one she would have picked because she's always just going to go forward.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, you can't really,
Do we want to two-part this? Because we're at an hour 20 minutes already.
Yeah, like, I'm not sure. Like, we could do that. Like, I feel like we still have a lot to say about Kino's journey.
I would agree. And it's 9:15 over here. And I gotta go to work and get my passport tomorrow.
Oh, you're going out of the country?
Yeah, we're gonna go to Japan for our honeymoon.
Oh, shit. Like, when are you guys going to Japan, then?
We're gonna go in May, at the end of the month.
At the end of May?
Yep.
Wait, when are you? Okay, we'll talk about this in a little bit once we're yeah, because like there's some things I need to talk to you about that. But I guess we'll just end it here and then make a note of that where we stopped on the episode.
Yeah, we're gonna pick up next week on the Coliseum episodes, which I'm sure you have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I love those episodes so much. Like, yeah, and we'll see you next week. I really don't think we need to plug anything on the podcast. We'll just do it in the description. Okay.
I do want to say something for anybody who's listened this far. If you've listened to all of our episodes so far, please email us at acrosstheotherpond@gmail.com or send us a message on Twitter at otherpondpod or you message us on Facebook. Just give us some of what you really like about the show and what you don't like about the show.
Yeah.
Give us some feedback. We would love to start to hone in on what you guys like listening to.
Yeah, because, like, really, we need to start molding this into something,
We're officially out on iTunes now. So we're on iTunes. Cool. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on Radio Public.
Instagram.
We're on Instagram.
Just go into whatever social media and just type in Across the Other Pond and you'll probably find us.
We are the ship icon.
Yeah, the ship.
The ship of knowledge.
The kiddish. Yeah, exactly. The ship of understanding on the ocean of knowledge.
I like that one a lot. Let's end there. I like that.
Okay, yep. So we'll see you on the other side of time, which is the future. Okay, well, then let's just end it there then.